This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
Of 1979. He was living in a $350,000 condominium just off the Pacific Coast Highway, 50 miles south of Los Angeles, and 10 miles from St. Mary's Hospital in Long Beach, where he served as Director of Emergency Medicine. There were parking spaces for cars in front and boats in back, and Dr. MacDonald had one of each. In his driveway, a rare Citroën Maserati with JRM MD license plates, and, docked just behind the sliding glass doors of his living room, a 34-foot yacht, the recovery room. He was 35 years old, 5 feet 11 inches tall, well-muscled and deeply tanned. He wore a tight-fitting short-sleeved shirt. He had a strong handshake and a quick smile. There were gold rings on his fingers, a gold watch on his wrist, and a gold chain around his neck. His blond hair was just beginning to turn gray. At Patchogue High School on Long Island, he had been president of the student council, quarterback of the football team, and king of the senior prom. His graduating class had voted him not only most popular, but also most likely to succeed. He had attended Princeton University and the Northwestern University Medical School. His internship year had been spent at the Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center in New York City. Upon its completion, he had enlisted in the Army and had volunteered to serve as a Green Beret. It had been almost 10 years since his wife and 2 daughters had been murdered in the family apartment at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and he had first been accused of killing them. In less than a month, he would be returning to North Carolina to stand trial. He took me to eat at a little restaurant just down the highway from where he lived. The Citroën Maserati handled the trip comfortably without being extended much past second gear. We sat at a large table outside, surrounded by fresh flowers and hanging plants. The waitresses made a fuss over Dr. MacDonald. He was apparently a regular, and he in turn administered hugs and dispensed free medical advice. He ordered for both of us a lavish Los Angeles-style brunch. Fresh juice, fresh melon, huevos rancheros, fried potatoes, coffee, white wine. He said the trial would be held in federal court in Raleigh, North Carolina. From the start, he had claimed that the murders had been committed by a band of Manson-like intruders who had burst into the apartment in the middle of the night, in February 1970, stabbing him and knocking him unconscious, and then slaughtering his pregnant wife and 2 young daughters. The Army had cleared him of all charges 9 months after the crimes, following the longest pre-court-martial hearing in military history. But his dead wife's stepfather, at first his most impassioned defender, had turned bitterly against him, MacDonald said, and had hounded him throughout the years that followed. After a 1975 indictment, the charges had been dismissed, this time by a federal appeals court, on grounds that he had already been denied his constitutional right to a speedy trial. But the U.S. Supreme Court had recently vacated that ruling, clearing the way for the impending trial, which would be, MacDonald said, an obscene charade. "It's inconceivable to me," he said over a second pot of coffee, "that more than 9 years after the night my family was killed, and I came so close to being killed myself, I can still pick up a newspaper and see myself called a murder suspect in the headlines. My only consolation is that in a few weeks it will finally be over. For 9 years I've been haunted, both by the loss of my family and by this ridiculous accusation that for some reason I killed them myself. The normal assumption might be that this is the sort of thing that gets easier with time. Well, I'll tell you something. It doesn't. It's always there. You speak at a medical conference, and it's there. You ask a girl out, and it's there. You wonder, how much does she know? How much should I tell her on the first date? And for the past 3 months, knowing it would definitely come to trial, I've been under more stress than at any time since 1970. I'm not sleeping. I'm not eating well. He pointed to his half-empty plate.